Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Heroes Media Group Friday Weekly Wrap Up. No, I'm not Adam Bird. That is not me. I'm doing my best though, dude. Look at this bow tie, right? I've worn a bow tie twice in my life. Once was at my daughter's wedding, and the second time was when I was jumping in to host the weekly wrap up for my buddy, my brother, Mr. Adam Bird in the Heroes Media Group. Adam is traveling. He's out and about, and he asked us to sit in his place. So you get the uglier version of your host this morning here. And we're going to do our best to follow up here and go through as Adam normally does as he takes you through a weekly wrap up. Happy 4th of July. Folks, what an awesome day, a great birthday to celebrate. 249 years. We're one away from 250, right? Pretty awesome stuff. Hopefully you guys have some awesome plans lined up for 4th of July. You're being safe, not messing with the crowds, not blowing off digits, things of that nature. We certainly don't want, any of that taking place out there with the firework mishaps and such that can go on. And hopefully you're being responsible, make smart choices, as we always tell our kids out there. Man, it's been a busy week out there, as things go. And a lot of things taking place, a lot of celebrations, a lot of goofiness going on around the country here and there. We're going to touch on some of those articles as Adam normally does for us here, and then of course we're going to go down through the great podcast that you can find here on the Heroes Media Group. Before we get going here, I want to see if I can share a couple things with you real quick that I want to basically. Where are the windows? Nope, those aren't it. We're going to share just a couple things here with you. That's what we'll do right there. A couple events that are taking place right now that we wanted to share. And here we go. This is one of the first. The Salute to American Heroes Celebrity Benefit Concert that's taking place Sunday, August 17th at the Roadhouse Museum in Clearwater, Florida. A lot of great entertainment going to be on slate for this here. And make sure to check out this event if you're in that neck of the woods. If you want to find ways you can help and support with that, there's still sponsorship available, I believe, for this here as well. So scan that code right there that you see, or go check them out. American Heroes Celebrity Benefit Concert, Sunday, August 17th at the OCC Roadhouse Museum in Clearwater, Florida. Check it out. Going to be a great event there. All right, so we got that one. We'll pull that away, and we got another one that I wanted to share with you here. Let me see if I can find it. Nope, that's not it. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Adam normally takes a little bit. I am, by the way, enjoying a little bit of my Heroes beverage of Kickstart. That's getting things rolling here. I got to tell you, so I've actually, stretched out and decided to give some of that coffee a run, and I am not disappointed, man. That is some awesome stuff. I'm kind of a coffee snob. I like a certain kind of flavor, a little bit more robust, but also not. I don't want to be able to put it in my my lawnmower, so to speak. And this stuff, Kickstart is the deal, man. That's it's some good stuff. Very happy with that. All right, so that's the screen we want to share. So let's share a window. There it is. We've got another event here, Veteran and Family Community Event, presented by Pass the Torch for Veterans, Saturday, July 19th, 10 to 3 at the Barn of Nottingham in Nottingham, Pennsylvania. Reach out to these guys here. You got your coordinators, Lindsey Johnson and Vera Miller. Make sure and check out this awesome event if you're in that neck of the woods over there. And I do believe there might even be, I'm not sure if there's sponsorship they're still looking for on that or not, but reach out to the coordinators, Lindsey and Vera, and I'm sure they'll be able to get you in there. The resource is going to be on hands. VA is going to be there, veteran business, local vendors and nonprofits, live music, kids activities, all kinds of cool stuff. It's going to be a great event. You definitely want to get down there. Vendor space is available for $25, man. You can't beat that. That's a heck of a deal and a great resource. So come on down, chat, see the folks down there, and want to make sure that we're getting that information out there so that you have that available to you. All right, cool. So we got those things squared away, and there. All right. So yeah, man. It's 4th of July weekend. There was rumblings and talk of different events being planned at the same time, and I really hope, personally, I'm just really hoping that common sense and calmer brains start to take over somewhere. That we see that doing the pushing the fear monger thing and firing down that whole deal there just really isn't getting anybody anywhere, and it's really counterproductive, right? And that's what we're hoping we can end through this stuff, and that we get back to getting things done right. And I still believe that can be done. I really do. And so hopefully we see some of that kind of take over in there. We're going to give just a couple minutes more here for more folks to connect and get set up here, and then we'll start going through some of this stuff. All right. So yeah. A couple of the, as Adam normally does on these wrap-up deals here, if you guys know me, I fancy myself what's known as a conservative liberal. I'm a little bit different than some areas, other than the fact that I reject a lot of notions, right? On the Double S podcast, you'll see me talk about this quite a bit, and that is I reject the notion that conservative or liberal are insults, because they're not. And to me, that's a very ignorant way to go about life, is to think those two terms, because if you look them up and you operate by what those things are, we need both of those things in discussion, right? We need those things. Now, make no mistake, people are making it hard to defend some of this ground out there these days when they attach themselves to it. I mean, you got your far, reach stuff that's out there, and that's the stuff I don't pay attention to it. I come from that generation that the best way to, take the flame away from somebody is just ignore them. And I do. I reject ridiculous, ignorant notions of things. I don't even engage in it half the time. But there does come a time as we go through some of this stuff, that I'm a firm believer in what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And if you are afraid to speak up or have a discussion about what's right in the world, in the country, in your community, well, then you're basically being thumbed and being held under a pressure. And that's what some of these extremes want you to do that. If you voice opposition to something, all of a sudden you're labeled as something crazy. And that's the best way to get that square in your head, in my opinion, is just reject it. No, I'm sorry. I can oppose your thought and still not be a racist. I can oppose your thought and, still, be a morally sound human being. With these things, and it boils down to literally, in my opinion, of what's right is right, man. And that's just all there is to it. There's litmus tests that you can go down, and trying to go down these rabbit holes of, higher evolution of thought. Shut up. Yeah. Bleh. Don't have much time for that kind of stuff. Talking about shit that's out there. And talking about stuff that's out there. It's okay. Right. I mean, we got to stop being afraid. When I hear people say, the old adage, don't talk politics or religion. Well, why not? I mean, isn't that what it's about? Is being able to discuss these things and discovery and, sharing of opinions. Perhaps don't scream it at each other. That's always a good idea. Don't scream this stuff. If you can remove the crazy emotion from the conversation, I mean, don't confuse overreaction with passion. On the fishing side of things, I believe wholeheartedly most of the people that I encounter out there, on the fishing game, that I used to be heavily into tournament fishing, and I'll tell you right now, the majority of the people that I rub shoulders with is they mistook obsession for passion, right? You can have passion about something, feeling it deeply inside, but you don't have to get, obsessed, and nor do you need to have, overreaction involved where it blinds your thought. Because if all you're thinking with is emotion and emotion only, well, then you're not utilizing a logical brain. Therefore, that's not a discussion. That's you yelling. And there's a group of people out there that like to do that. They just like to yell a lot and scream. And usually when you start putting facts back at them or you start asking questions, their volume increases. That's a good sign that they don't have a defendable position or they've lost their train of thought to be able to defend that type of thing. It's okay to talk about this stuff, man. I'm a firm believer in that. We can disagree and still have respect and love for one another. And I know that to be true. A very, very close person in my life, a gentleman I consider my brother. I've known him since 6th grade. He and I sit on polar opposite ends of many, many topics. And I love the man dearly. And that will never change. Just because I think he's a wackadoo and he thinks I'm a wackadoo, we still treat each other as brothers, and that's that, And so I know it can be done, and it's not just him. With other people, I know I fish with along people that have differences of opinions, and I don't care. It doesn't change my thought of them, And that's what we need. I think a good strong dose of getting back to. When we're out there. And it also, what that does is it helps your mental health, man. It helps you get things clean in your head a little bit and puts you in a good state of mind there. All right, you know what? Let's go ahead and start getting to some of the articles that are out there. All right, let's see here. One of the first, I thought this is non-political whatsoever, but did you guys see... it was all over social media out there, but did you guys see that fireworks explosion that took off? Oh my gosh. To the best of what I've read so far, and it's kind of sketchy coming in, of course, because that's in the land of try to hide as much as possible. But from what I saw, no life was hurt or harmed in that process. Everybody seemed to be okay. I hope that still remains the case. And it looks like a couple homes got consumed from that. But, dude, that looked like something straight out of like a Die Hard movie, the way that place went up. And then the fireworks that just kept going off over and over because it was a big fireworks factory that exploded. It was pretty crazy. Let's see here. Madre fire explodes into California's largest blaze. I don't think this is related. Madre fire in California surged to 35,530 acres in under 24 hours, becoming the state's largest wildfire of the year. Fueled by dry grass, high temperatures, and gusty winds, the blaze erupted Wednesday near State Route 166 east of Santa Maria, and is primarily burning through federal lands in San Luis Obispo County. The fire, which ignited around 1 p.m., rapidly consumed 3,300 acres in its first 2 hours. It has since expanded east and northeast onto Carrizo Plain, threatening critical areas within Los Padres National Forest and the Bureau of Land Management parcels. Evacuation orders are in place for 8 zones, with warnings issued for 6 additional areas. Hate seeing any of these wildfires go off out there, but there's been some issues out there in that neck of the woods. Lack of water, the drought conditions, lack of ground clearing. I don't have that on good authority, but what I will say is I've heard murmurings of it, and I still have people that I chat with and see in that space from the old days. And it's just management seems to always come to mind of what do we do. But then again, even with the best management possible, Mother Nature will remind us just how insignificant we truly are and how much she is in charge. Right. That's very, very possible along the way. And so we hope that they get this under control, because that is a lot of land that's burning right now. And also, obviously, safety to all the first responders that are out there working on that, and the citizens that are in that neck of the woods, that they can get through this with no loss of life, no injuries, and kind of get through that. on this 4th of July, let me see here, and I don't know what I think about this one. Let me preface before I get into this article. Make no mistake, as much as I'll be the first to point out when the far left likes to gaslight and how the majority of the media outlets that people consume media from are bought and paid for, and they spin stuff, which we just got, court basically proof of that this last week. I'll point that out, but make no mistake, the other side, the right side, does it the same, man. They play the political games, wagging the dog, whatever you want to call it. They play this stuff just the same, just not in as many locations. Fox News is very guilty of this time and time again. Remember what I said at the beginning. What's right is right. And what's wrong is wrong. This isn't political. This is just, right and common sense. So I'm not sure about this news article exactly or what the administration is getting to with this, because it almost feels like it's a self-serving memorandum that we need to keep certain things going and that this will be the reason. We released this a while back, but the news article reads, Iranian nuclear program is delayed 1 to 2 years. Now, I don't know. So I'm not a scientist out there. If we got any scientists tuning in here, help me out with this. Bring this, together for me. But if we absolutely annihilated a uranium enrichment plant, it's my understanding that enriching uranium takes a while. This isn't a quick process. But according to this article, Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell stated that the United States believes Iran's nuclear program has been delayed by 1 or 2 years following the strikes. In quotes, our assessment of the battle damage around Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan remains unchanged. I mean, we believe, and certainly all of the intelligence that we've seen has led us to believe that Iran, those facilities especially, have been completely obliterated. That was from Sean Parnell. He explained that allies in the region share the nation's belief about the degradation of Iran's nuclear program and the fact that we have degraded the program by 1 or 2 years. Also quoted, at least intel assessments inside the department assessed that, and I think their intelligence shares that conclusion. Pentagon believes, Parnell said the Pentagon believes it's probably closer to 2 years. So, interesting. And like I said before, I almost wonder if this is a strategic statement, that was fired off to just basically start building the PC blocks for further stuff. I don't know. I don't absolve anybody just because I might agree with a direction or I might enjoy or like, the direction or decisions that are being made in certain areas. Doesn't mean we absolve them from responsibility, and doesn't mean we don't keep a watchful eye on that, right? And so, yeah, I'm curious about that. That's one of those news articles that just kind of lifts, my eyebrows a little bit, and I start, what do you think? I don't know. Maybe it is just legit, and that's what it was, and who knows? Maybe I'm just tinfoil hat putting on there. Hey, what I was just speaking about that we had the court with the media here. What do you guys think about the $16 million settlement, I believe, that Paramount and CBS have to pay our sitting president because of a lawsuit that was launched to get them because of the way they manipulated the interview with then Vice President and presidential candidate Kamala Harris? Pretty interesting deal. The court found in favor that what Paramount did and what CBS did with that interview was not forthright and honest. And so I think Paramount and CBS realized that it was going to be much worse. So they settled in this case to draw it to an end. And bottom line is what it was is they edited the stuff together to make it look a lot better than what it was. as we all know, anytime left unvetted, this is just the truth. She was word salad at best, right? Dancing around topics when trying to answer stuff. And so, yeah, they edited this whole thing and pieced it together to make it look a lot better than what it actually was. It wasn't unedited. The transcripts were never released. And so now, going forward, part of this lawsuit states that any of these interviews with public candidates, the transcripts have to be publicly available. Pretty interesting stuff. Big deal. And it's my understanding that the monies that are received from this are going to be, I think, donated to the presidential library. Maybe, I'm not sure. There's a nonprofit or some location that these monies are going to be donated to. Our president has said, which rather interesting deal, to say the least. Let's see here. What's next? Oh, on some great news once again. New information. U.S. economy adds 147,000 new jobs in June. That was reported by the Labor Department. The unemployment rate was reported as being 4.1%, down from 4.2%. So unemployment continues to drop. New jobs continue to rise. Economy is on its way there. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to start seeing these gas prices drop. All right. My understanding, and somebody out there tell me how this works. Hey, good morning, Justin. Appreciate you tuning in, Brick. Appreciate that. Awesome stuff. Somebody tell me how this works. From what I'm hearing, oil prices are at the lowest they've been in forever and a day, in a coon's age. So why am I not seeing this reflected in the gas pump, right? It's always such, we're dealing in futures and the possibilities of this and that. All that is math that's designed to make some people extremely wealthy and do it off the backs of the working people, in my opinion. I don't buy too deep into a lot of that stuff. But, we're seeing that stuff, and the economy continues to go. I love the personal note that our president sent to the Fed. And I'll tell you what, if this Fed continues to sit on his hands over and over, maybe it is time to find somebody who's a little bit more aggressive and ready to get after this economy like the American people want us, our government to do so. Taking this all of a sudden now, what we're going to take a conservative approach now. Certainly didn't do that, in the past. Was quick to raise the rates and keep that money coming to certain areas, but these rates should be dropped, right? The rates should absolutely be dropping in a major fashion, and they haven't yet. So our president's putting the pressure on the Fed, publicly, which is about the most we can ask for right now. I don't know what other signaling powers we have out there that can look at this, but yeah, this would be, and I don't know, maybe it's because they still don't believe what they see in front of them. What they're choosing to believe is the fear mongering that continues to happen. That it's going to bankrupt us. It's just going to the rich. Right now it is. And it needs to, we want to start seeing that change, and being able to borrow money to make advancements, in our local communities at better rates without being tied to horrific debt. I was once told this by a very, very successful individual in the financial firm, which was, debt is not your enemy, right? Look at all the multi-billionaires and millionaires that are running around out there. Half the time they don't own technically a whole lot. A lot of this stuff is done with other people's money and investment. So debt, you need to get that in your head. Debt in and of itself is not your enemy. Unmanageable debt, that's your enemy. If you can't manage it, or if it starts to push you beyond your means. Now that sounds elementary, right? But there truly is. Sometimes, that you've heard the term, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet, right? Well, a lot of that is done by borrowing and maneuvering it. It's called investment. This is a term that we've lost along the way. And finally, this administration seems to be doing this, which is investing. The investment should return something, right? I mean, that's the point. That's what we're trying to get at. And so, yeah, great news, though. The economy continues to get stronger and stronger. Mind you, when they took over, that bar was set pretty low, but the economy was not sitting pretty at that time. But this is good signs, and we're seeing unemployment continue to drop. Inflation is no longer really a massive concern whatsoever. That's been brought under control there. So that's a good deal. Interesting deal here. Don't know really what to think about this. See if we got any of our Navy guys out there that would chime in with this one. Navy hit with major lawsuit over chemical leak. The Honolulu Board of Water Supply filed a lawsuit against the U.S. Navy after it allegedly caused a fuel leak that affected Hawaii residents. In 2021, so this is in 2021, 20,000 gallons of fuel leaked from the Red Hill Bulk Fuel Supply Storage Facility after a pipe burst and released hazardous chemicals into the water supply. So we're talking 4 years ago. The Navy itself has acknowledged responsibility for the massive environmental and human health crisis caused by the November 2021 fuel release, but has refused to accept responsibility for the cost that the BWS has and will incur to respond to the Navy's containment releases. This is not an issue that will be solved quickly or cheaply, says the BWS manager and chief engineer, Ernest Lau. Every action must be taken to protect the purity of Oahu's water, and it's the only right that the Navy assume financial responsibility for its actions that put water purity and safety for everyone on Oahu at risk and caused harm to the BWS. Well, I haven't heard about this till now. You'd think, I don't know, maybe I digress, but you'd think under leadership that was supposedly so environmentally strong, that we would have heard about something like this prior. But I guess I haven't. That's the first I've heard of it. But yeah, I mean, on the surface, certainly seems that the Navy should do what they need to do to square this away. But I'm sure there's more to it. We don't know what we don't know, right? Hopefully they get it squared away. Obviously, can get things. No one needs to be messing with the environment like that. No one wants to see that go through. Red tape should be removed. Make it right. Take care of the citizens around that they're sworn to protect, and go on from there. The Paramount thing, we talked about that. Let's see here. Some of the other articles here, looking through a lot of local stuff, local news or regional news. Buc-ee's comes to mind. I see this craze over this gas station, right? This truck stop that's massive. It's this massive giant that drops into these local areas. It's brought in with fanfare galore. People want to stop there, take their kids there. It's almost like treated like an amusement park almost. And I'm blown away by this because I see a lot of these people do this. They get so excited about that. And in our local area, we had this situation. It was placed on I-25 up by Johnstown, Colorado. Well, shortly thereafter, yeah, T-Dog, absolutely. There may be other facilities that we don't know about. True. Yeah. T-Dog, he's going back to that nuclear piece that we went there when we were talking about that show coming in from our YouTube. Appreciate you chiming in, brother. Yeah, and that's true. Maybe we don't know. Like I said, it's always good to ask the questions, but it's always curious. I try to keep eyes on that kind of stuff. Talking about Buc-ee's here and going over this. So I see this fanfare and people get all excited about it. And in our local area, this happened. Buc-ee's was coming. We knew like a year in advance. People were stoked about it. Then not too long after Buc-ee's opened and the fanfare took place, all of a sudden news came out that a near historical marker on I-25 called Johnson's Corner was basically going out of business. This is a legendary truck stop, if you will. Johnson's Corner was right there on I-25. Been owned, over the years. It was a small diner, known throughout Colorado and the western region for its cinnamon rolls. Lo and behold, they basically sold, and Johnson's Corner, as we once knew it, closed down. And people were all sad and up in arms. Listen, the same people that I see out there that talk about American made and want to see this, they're the same people that get all excited about this Buc-ee's and the Walmart thing, and they try to claim that they don't have an opportunity and their budget requires that they go to these places. But do you understand that they do that on purpose? Buc-ee's and the Walmarts and these bigger organizations purposefully aim to shut down the competition around them. And they do it in the name of business, and it's a cold word. When you do your research into local economies, you'll understand that small business, that's what drives local economies, folks. It just does. It drives the engine of most local economies is small business owners. It's not, as much as we'd like to say it's the salt of the earth. No, it's not. It's small business owners that drive local economies and help provide. And when these bigger organizations and conglomerates come into play and they set down root and we go up in there and we start, hugging their jock, you can't turn around and then be appalled when you see mom and pop shops getting shut down all over the place. I, like Adam, share the deal that I have no time for Walmart, none whatsoever, or other big organizations that purposefully would set out to shut down small business. Now, I get competition, okay, and ethical competition is absolutely healthy for all parties involved. That actually benefits the consumer. But when you knowingly target small businesses and you're a big monster out there, of an organization, no, I don't have any time for that whatsoever. When you purposefully are setting out with your goal sitting around the table is we need to shut them out of business. Nope. And that's literally what these companies do, man. And so if you're going to, the best way you can support your small businesses, even if you perhaps don't want to pay their price, is at the very least, don't support the organizations that purposefully set out to wipe them out. Okay? I mean, it really is that simple. I was a bachelor, single dad bachelor for several years. And somehow, working on a very small budget that I got paid through a school district, I worked IT support for a school district, got paid once a month. Somehow I avoided doing grocery shopping and my other shopping at Walmart 100% and still was able to stretch my budget and make it work with a pair of kids to take care of. It's for every person that says it can't be done. Yeah, it can. You just got to change your priorities. It might mean that you don't get to go out to eat as much. It might mean, that you got to change your priorities in certain areas. Maybe you don't spend $92 on a haircut. Maybe you got to look, in some other areas here to look around, but there are ways that you can absolutely do it. And live within your means here. And I'm sorry, but when I see, Cadillac Escalades pulling up and carts full of, junk food and crap coming out to that Escalade at the Walmart, you're not going to convince me of this argument whatsoever on any level. So at any rate, like I said, just make sure you do your research into these companies and look at what is their MO. Are they just looking for competition and what, collateral damage is collateral damage, or do they purposefully set out to wipe out your local mom and pops? Last but not least here, then we'll get to the podcasts. This New York City mayor, now I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of this joker. it's a horrible look. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. This dude's statements alone, it's a bad look, Democrats. It's a bad look, Republicans, that we have this guy catching press. And I think, I don't know, to some degree, it's like it's a Christmas gift for the right. And the far left is feeling really strong right now about this deal. Hey, Jason, what's happening, buddy? Appreciate you tuning in, man. But there's something that takes place here. I saw this report that apparently this guy's citizenship, he's not a American-born citizen. He applied for and was granted citizenship. And there was talk about exercising some communist collusion act of some kind, I think that came back from the 50s, like 54 or something, that he may be in violation of that, and they could actually utilize that to deport this guy, basically revoke his citizenship, claiming that he lied, on his deal, and they would pull his citizenship, and therefore he'd be out of the Democratic race. Now, I'm curious about people's opinions on this, because I got to tell you, as much as I think this guy's a nut job and has no business being in public office whatsoever, I do not support this move of now pulling him. Yeah, David. Yep. For sure. I'm with you. There's just no question about this. That I do not on any level think he should be holding any type of public office whatsoever. But allow me to explain my thought on this. Why I don't like the idea of enacting this deal and pulling him from the ticket is, here's what comes to my brain. Why now? If he was this big of a threat, if he was this much of a deal that would cause that, then why is it only now that he's in the public eye that they would be talking about doing this? Because this feels reminiscent of what Colorado tried to do, which was remove Donald Trump from the ticket. They tried to get him pulled, and I opposed that because there was nothing there that stated, they claimed the whole felony thing, this and this and this and this. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't, if he's in pure violation, he's in pure violation. But I'm just going to say it's not a good look, because this looks a whole lot like what a lot of us have tried to continue to say, is that we've got to, just because the speech is uncomfortable and something we don't like, we got to be careful, when it comes to hate speech. Isn't speech that you hate. Okay. There's a difference there. And so this, by doing this now at this stage of the game, it almost feels like it's a censorship type thing. But you know what? I am in firm belief that we need law and order, flat out. And if there's a law that's been violated, if he lied, if this can be proven that his whole purpose from day one has been this, to try to, create subterfuge inside and break down the very fabric pieces of one of our largest cities in America, then yeah, absolutely. I guess that needs to be there. Just making the statement that it's not a good look. You know what I mean? And it seems like somebody could have been, this guy had to be on the radar before. If he's that existential of a threat, then it isn't now just that because someone posted an article online that all of a sudden now it's a big deal. If he was that pretty much, what's that? I have a certain degree of faith that Adams is going, oh yeah. Let's hope, right? Let's see what happens on that. And again, my point is that, if there's a violation, there's a violation, get her done. Right. but it feels weird, right? I mean, we got to protect that freedom of speech. We got to make sure that we're not falling in, under the hole just because we don't like their opinions or whatever. Hey, we've allowed communist organizations to hold nonprofit status in America. We've allowed that. They're operating freely here. Being a founder of a nonprofit, that strikes me right to my core. I don't understand that, how that could be. But you know what? It is what so many of our brothers and sisters have fought to protect, which is you're allowed to have, as long as it's done peacefully, you're allowed to have opposing views. That's what we protect. So 100%. Any rate, folks, I think that's going to wrap it up. No other major information that's running around out there as far as when we were cutting through the news. So let's go ahead. Like we said, we talked about that Salute to American Heroes, August 17th. We put that flyer up there earlier. So run back to the beginning of the show there and you'll see that flyer. We had that up on there. They are still looking for sponsors. So make sure to go ahead and give those guys a great support there. So let's start going down through, and for my fellow podcast hosts out there, I know Adam has a certain methodology that he goes down, so I'm going to make sure I touch on every one of these shows that are on the Heroes Media Group, the great podcasts that air. I do not have the nights that you are airing on there, so if you're tuned in right now, make sure to throw that. I'm going to put a link to your podcast through the heroesmediagroup.com website. I'm going to throw that up in the comments to each one of these. But I also don't have, I may or may not have the most current, but we'll see. We're going to go through this here. And I promise you, if I'm going to sit in for Adam a few more times, I'll do more work than just a bow tie. I'll see if I can come up with what his scheme is on how he goes about getting the most recent stuff that goes out there. All right, so going down, this seems kind of self-serving, but it was first on his list. The Double S podcast, we do air on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. The Double S is basically a podcast that is designed for the warfighting community and our community heroes. Real talk, no filters. We share opinions. We go over stuff, cool interviews. We try to bring in a wide range of different interviews that talk about community service, talk about people that support the cause. Of course, we bring up the TPO, the True Patriot Outfitters, and the work we do with getting outdoors and those adventures. Double S podcast on the Heroes Media Group on Sunday nights. Let's see, one sec here. Let's see if we can do this here. We'll post this to all channels. Fire that off. Boom, there we go. All right, next up, the Veterans Dad podcast. So we're going to jump to this bad boy here. All right. The Veterans Dad podcast is an audio series designed by veterans for veterans. It focuses on life, liberty, and the pursuit of sanity within the 21st century. Host Adam T. Cummings and Bob Althage served in the Marine Corps together. More than a decade later, they come back together again to share vulnerable takes, hilarious stories, and sage advice as they chronicle this new chapter of fatherhood in their lives. The most recent episode that we see here on the Veteran was No Pity Pancakes. That is the name of this one. For years, any emotional disturbance I had was either expressed aggressively or bottled up inside for a rage out at a later time. It took me years to draw a correlation between the downplaying and the expressing of my true feelings and all the rage I still contained inside. As time went, self-control became a novelty, and the emotional triggers began to consume me. Looks like a pretty in-depth episode there on episode 5 from those guys. I think that's what we have set up here. The Veteran Dad podcast. And I was looking to see when that airs, and I do not see. But you can go to these links that I'm going to be sending up here, and you'll be able to see exactly when these air, all coming across through the Heroes Media Group and such. All right. Next, the Unapologetic Veterans Podcast. CEO and co-founders of VB422 join the host here, and they ride with a purpose is the name of this episode that they have here. And let's see here real quick. The Unapologetic Veterans Podcast is where raw truth meets real experience, hosted by unapologetically bold veterans who've walked the walk. This podcast is a no BS space where military life, transition, and everything in between gets unpacked with grit, humor, and honesty. From the battlefield to the boardroom, from deployment stories to dealing with the aftermath of service, they cover the issues that matter to those who've worn the uniform and those who still do. Check those guys out. I just love the pedigree of that. We have a similar modality that we operate by. So yeah, it's a great podcast. This recent one here, they've got they sit down with the CEO and co-founders of VB422. They ride with a purpose. So check out that episode there. All right, the next we have here the Disgruntled PM podcast. Let's see, get our description up here. The Disgruntled PM podcast helps project managers transform daily frustrations into leadership opportunities by sharing clear strategies, no-nonsense advice, and a relatable dose of humor from experienced guests. That's an absolutely, I love the fact that there's an entire podcast set up to this to project managers. I've done some project management myself, and I can tell you it's not an easy job whatsoever. We have here, and what does it look like? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes being shown here on the Heroes Media. And there's definitely more. They just keep the top most recent ones that are up here. But yeah, this latest episode was More Than Bourbon Behind the Pappy Gate Story Part 2. So it looks like they split a deal up here into two different shows here. So check those guys out at the Disgruntled PM podcast. If you go to the Heroes Media Group page, you can actually see all the links to all their socials and so forth, and you can follow those completely. Let's copy this link and paste it here. Bada bing. Oh, we had the new Disgruntled PM podcast releases every Monday. Thank you, T-Dog. Appreciate that, brother. Helping me out there. So on Mondays. And I think that's the way the way Adam's got these lined up here is they start Sunday and it moves through the week there. I'm pretty sure that's how he's lined this thing up here. But yeah, check out the Disgruntled PM podcast releasing every Monday. All right. Let's see here. Next up, we have Speak Up, Show Up, Lead podcast, the Resilience Leadership podcast with J.J. Hardy. Let's copy this over here, and we'll go get you a description on this one. All right. This is the podcast for resilient humans, real leaders, and those rewriting their story after life punched back. Hosted by Army veteran and leadership coach J.J. Hardy, each episode delivers raw stories, practical strategies from guest and solo episodes that challenge, inspire, and fuel your next move. All right, whether you're rebuilding after trauma, growing a business, navigating life post-military, or just trying to lead through chaos, this podcast brings you the truth about resilience, reinvention, and leading with purpose. Definitely tune in. I've caught a couple of these episodes. I've had the pleasure of tuning into some of these and extremely insightful. Really, really like the show. And the delivery is fantastic. It makes it real easy to follow along with. So yeah, that's the Resilience Leadership Podcast with J.J. Hardy. Let's get that posted up here. All right. And going down through the list, Keep It Spiritually Simple with Miss Sandra McKellis. All right. That's next on our list. Bring this one up here. Keep It Spiritually Simple. This is a podcast full of insightful discussion, thought-provoking topics, and a simplified approach to complex spiritual concepts. Tune in to enrich your mind, challenge your perspective, and expand your spiritual and wellness concepts in a way that's easy to grasp and engaging to explore. Join Sandra and navigate this fascinating world with clarity and simplicity. I think we could all use a few of those type of tips on the daily. I know I could for sure. So yeah, check out Keep It Spiritually Simple. And sorry it's taken me a while to punch these things up here, but we don't have any of this stuff preloaded, so we have to kind of go through it. All right, next on the podcast list, Faith, Valor, and Growth. on our podcast link here. Join us as we explore powerful strategies for personal growth, financial success through real estate investing, and nurturing a robust Christian faith. Dominic and Jay, former Marine Corps veterans, along with surprise special guests, share the stories of resilience, faith, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Discover practical tips for building wealth in real estate, fostering a strong sense of community, and strengthening your spiritual foundation. Whether you're a veteran looking for guidance or someone interested in supporting those who have served, this podcast is packed with wisdom and encouragement. Tune in. As you notice, there's a sense also that comes along the line, the positivity piece. Absolutely love this. At the Double S, we're looking to do the same thing, is to start switching more onto the positive side and leave some of the crap behind there. So I love podcasts like Faith, Valor, and Growth, just because it gives you tools, man. Dominic and Jay, they give you tools to operate, and they give you that positive piece on how to move forward and progress down through some things. So tune in there, check those guys out. Here's a link coming. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, next on the Strategic Veteran. I know this is one of Adam's. He talks about quite a bit. He references this show quite often. The Strategic Veteran Podcast. What do we have here? All right. It's a must-listen for veterans seeking to navigate their post-military lives with purpose through both entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. Hosted by Adam Peters, dedicated veteran entrepreneur, each episode delves deep into the unique challenges and triumphs of transitioning from military to civilian life. Listeners will find inspiration and actionable insights as Adam interviews high-performing veterans, industry leaders, and experts who share their stories and strategies for success. Love it, man. That's a lot of good episodes there. Most recent seems to be Adrian Massey was the most recent episode that's being shown out there. So join Adam Peters, the host there, for the Strategic Veteran Podcast. Let's see here. We're just going to... Yeah, I'm getting some feedback that we might be hitting one of these Facebook channels a little too much here with these posts. So what we're going to do is theheroesmediagroup.com/podcast. Right there you can see a link to all of these fantastic podcasts that go off there that you can check out. So make sure we'll do that. We don't want to cause any problems with Facebook or anything by having too much of the repeated posting here. Stupid social media. All right, next on the docket, Senior Living Guide. I'm not too many years away from this. And we do not have... Yeah, that's not showing. So the Senior Living Guide podcast, I do not have a link. It's a broken link that's going out there. Shows. Hang on a sec. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. Heroes Media Group podcast, Senior Living, Strategic. Maybe that's no longer a podcast that's being put out there, because I don't see it on our main list there. So scratch that. And if it is, I apologize. But our link is broken. There doesn't seem to be a page dedicated to that. All right, next on the list, Patriots Inside the Wire, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can check out Patriots Inside the Wire. And these guys, this is a busy group, right? Patriots Inside the Wire is dedicated to sharing the courageous tales of patriots, first responders, veterans, and Gold Star families of fallen heroes. Their platform goes beyond storytelling as they spotlight important issues that affect us all and advocate for change where necessary. By tuning in, you become part of a larger movement dedicated to making a tangible difference in the lives of our community, both military and civilian. Great podcast. This is a very, very busy group over here. These guys, they stay extremely busy, and I love the dedication they have. Tracy Two-Step and John Swat, these guys, they do an amazing job over there. Tune in. You don't want to miss that show there for sure. Latest episode, we've got your flag. We've got a flag and a secret from Dr. Garcia, Veterans and VA Music Mission Takeover, 100-meter scream. That's the title piece here. What does it say? Yeah, okay. Dr. Gloria Garcia joins for a powerful, honest conversation about what it means to be a doctor working inside the VA system, caring for our nation's heroes. Good stuff. So yeah, that's on the latest episode here. It looks like I was looking for when that aired. 8:15 p.m. Surprise hits at 9 p.m. All right, Patriots Inside the Wire. Next up, the Arms Room, every Monday at 2 p.m. Arizona Mountain Standard Time. You can check out the Arms Room. Let's see here. The Arms Room. What can you expect from the Arms Room? Spotlights of new equipment from the shooting industry, live discussions of training concepts and techniques with our listeners and social media followers, on-the-air gear demonstrations, special guest giveaways, and more. All right, that's the latest episode here. Looks treating hypothermic shock on your patient. So it looks like a good episode here. They'll be discussing the treatment of hypothermic shock and why it's such a critically important step. The Arms Room, check those guys out on Mondays. The Misfit Nation podcast. This is a fun podcast. I've had a chance to tune into this one several times here. And why is it not linking for me? Let's get this. All right. Wake up. There it is. Misfit Nation. All right. Our host, Rich LaMonica of the Misfit Nation. This is a show started by a U.S. Army veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Their aim is to inspire everyone to be better humans. They do this by bringing on guests with stories of grit and resilience while adding in experts in many fields such as authors, entrepreneurs, coaches, motivational speakers, health and fitness professionals, and many more. Join them for an episode or all of them. And if you feel like it'll be a great fit, send them a message and they'll get you on the show. Looks like they're wide open. The Misfit Nation, this is an awesome show. I do like tuning into this. Rich LaMonica he's a motivational speaker, author, and Army veteran. Highly entertaining and great information there. The latest episode that we have here, U.S. Air Force Major retired Dr. Stephen Ramos joins Rich LaMonica to share how his 28-year Air Force career from U-2 pressure suit tech to elite jump master and combat therapist led to a new mission, saving veteran lives through mental health advocacy. Tune into that episode there. We need to drink a coffee here. Talking way too much too early. All right, next up, the Label Free podcast with Deanna Marie Kemple. Apologize if I misspoke that last name there. I'm horrible at names. Label Free. They want their listeners to feel inspired, uplifted, and courageous. On this podcast, they'll discuss how we as individuals can break free from the labels that society puts on us, both personally and professionally. It says, join me for a candid interviews with entrepreneurs, artists, health and wellness experts, executives, humanitarians, and more as they share their personal and professional journeys, while they share wisdom they've learned along the way. Another great, if you're looking to break free from some things, another great resource there. The latest episode is Healing Beyond Trauma, Karen Robinson's journey from survivor to recovery expert. All right. Here we've got your 6 at 6, the People's Patriot Project. We had we had Andrea and Mark on the Double S podcast not too long ago. This is a great show over here for these guys. Check out the People's Patriot Project. They come together to see the issues and the needs of today's heroes, veterans, and first responders. They discuss the solutions and see the organizations that are boots on the ground as they combat the silent, invisible, and deadly enemies of our heroes that they are facing. They're a grassroots, nonpartisan nonprofit acting on a mission to honor, empower, and support those who have served. I love this. We are the shock and awe in combating silent, invisible, and deadly enemies of our daily heroes, first responders, and veterans. Love it. Check these guys out, the People's Patriot Project. We Got Your Six at 6. They have multiple nights that they are on as well. Great show. Great people that are running that deal over there. The Other Side of the Firewall. Let's see here. My machine is very slow today. Cybersecurity is an ever-growing field and representation within matters more than ever. The Other Side of the Firewall podcast strives to highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers. Love it. So The Other Side of the Firewall, check out Ryan, Shannon, Chris, and Daniel on that show there. You will absolutely love that if you've got the tech geek side of you, getting into some of those episodes. Next on the list we have here, Chasing Happiness. On the Chasing Happiness, it's a podcast about life lessons and issues that impact our lives. Some of the best episodes are where we take an honest look at current events and discuss how they might affect you, all while being completely transparent in tone, from host Ryan Dement, who tells his stories with honesty combined with humor for your listening pleasure. In each episode, you'll hear Ryan and his guests discussing life challenges, finances, career advice, health and wellness tips, and more. All right, on the latest episode we have here, I hated morning routines until this happened. Waking up early, journaling, sitting in silence, none of that made sense to me when I was drowning in stress, bills, and burnout. I thought I didn't have the time, but eventually life knocked me flat and I had no choice but to change. Love it. Love those stories of empowerment like that when you hit your wall, your final motivator that kick you over. So tune in to Chasing Happiness. Great podcast here. And last but not least, Rise Up, Voices from the Front Lines. All right, this is with Krista Fee. Rise Up, Life on Fire, raw and uncensored interviews with military vets, police, firefighters, first responders, dispatchers, and other frontline helping professionals who have dedicated their lives to service and others. Each episode tells a story of trauma, tragedy, and triumph. Discover tools and resources and connections for hope, healing, and happiness for those who serve and their families. We do not censor or edit our content, so anything goes. Love it. It's a great way to speak truth here. And the most recent episode appears to be Performative Boundaries 4/7, Woke but Weaponized Series. What happens when healing becomes a performance, when boundaries become barriers, when protecting your peace is actually just emotional avoidance in disguise. Looks like a pretty strong and in-depth. Check out Rise Up, Life on Fire podcast. Love seeing that. All right, folks, that's that. We went through there. Again, talking way too much too early. And, the bow, maybe it's the bow tie. Maybe that's what's doing. Maybe it's choking me off a little bit. It's getting the throat. But I got my kickstart. All right. Let's get to the sponsors. And let's see here. Let me see. Do we have any of these banners here for these guys? I don't think so. No, the arms. No. We don't have any of those. All right. All right. So, sponsors. I don't have links to these. Adam, I apologize, buddy. But I don't have this information here. But we're just going to go ahead and name these off for you. Our sponsors from the farm. My understanding is this is it's fresh sourced. No additives, no garbage coming through this, and I am apologizing up front. I'm not quite sure I have the full information on From the Farm. I know Adam does, and I know he talks about them. He's got a cool hat, and he talks about this supporting your local farmers, which I'm always in support of. We have a couple here locally that we try to do our best and support with that. Plus, you can source the food where it's coming from. So check them out, From the Farm. Of course, HMG Beverage. I've been talking about those guys. Kickstart that morning coffee. Check out HMG Beverage. They have lots of different flavors and tastes out there for all of your coffee needs, and I think a few other beverages they're working on. My Tax Fella. I know this is a gentleman that helps Adam out with the Heroes Media Group with taxes and such through. So check out My Tax Fella. JB Addo Clothiers. I can Google this stuff. JB, let's see. Oops, get back here. Addo Clothiers. What do we have here? Custom clothing company that specializes in bespoke suits and formal wear for men with a focus on high-quality American-made garments. Meaning I probably have, if I were to own any, just one. Because this is about as fancy as I get these days. Forget Genetics. I feel like I need to know something about these, right? If we're going to talk about them on our sponsors, I should at least know something about these guys. Let's see here. Forget Genetics. Maximize. Let's see. A veteran-owned small business dedicated to hunters combines years of scientific research with rigorous field testing to bring you a full line of premium attractants, feed, and trace minerals. Check them out. Forget Genetics. You can find that. It's at forgetgenetics.com. Pretty simple, cut and dry and simple. Jim Neary's Bait and Tackle. I know that Adam speaks very highly of Jim and that company over there, and it's where he goes and gets all of his fishing need and such. And I know they've been a big sponsor and big helper in many other ways. So check them out at Jim Neary's Bait and Tackle. Warriors on the Water Ltd. Let's see what. Let me pull this up. We're always interested in. Here you go. Warriors on the Water. This looks like a nonprofit here. Warriors on the Water Limited was founded by Jim. And Jim Neary in late 20. So same thing with the Bait and Tackle. Registered 501c3. Warriors on the Water found a growing need to give back to our military veterans first responder. Jim Neary is a Marine Corps veteran. Okay, so Jim Neary Bait and Tackle is a Marine-owned organization, of course. Should have known that Adam would definitely be set up with that. Strictly volunteers, and all donations made go directly towards monthly free activities, costs associated with their website, office supplies, and advertising, etc. Awesome stuff. So Warriors on the Water Ltd. and Jim Neary's Bait and Tackle. All one big happy family. Love it. Fin Tactical. Let me pull this up here so we can have at least something to say. Business Solutions. Trusted business solutions partner for the firearms, ammunition, and outdoor industry. Check them out. Strategic partner in firearms, ammo, and outdoor industry established with a commitment to providing specialized merchant services and solutions. Fin Tactical has emerged as a driving force for businesses seeking excellence and efficiency within this dynamic sector. Check out Fin Tactical. They're a great supporter here. And last but not least, VA Claim Builder. All right. We managed to get through it, and we're just over an hour. So hopefully we did Adam proud here. To my fellow podcast hosts out there, I do apologize if I did not have say the name right. If I didn't cover something properly there, please accept my deepest apologies. And please reach out to me. Let's get you on the Double S podcast. Let's get you over there, and we'll make up for it. We'll give you all the press in the world we can. But we kind of jumped through this. We hope Adam has safe travels in his ventures here, where he's heading off, and that he gets some awesome memories there. We're honored that he asked us to sit in and give you folks a weekly wrap up here. And as always, we appreciate you guys. Be kind to each other, and hopefully we'll get through this entire weekend with all 10 digits intact here. And hopefully everybody else does out there. Have a great 4th of July weekend. Be safe. God bless you. God bless America, as Adam has taught me. Talk to you folks next Friday.